What's up, people of the internet? Elysse Jinkens, your Lake of the Ozarks real estate expert, bringing you an exclusive interview with a mastermind behind Nettwork Global. I am so excited for you to be introduced to Michael Nettemeyer.
Elysse, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here and really looking forward to having this conversation with you today.
So I want to take a look at the industry as a whole, and specifically, let's have a conversation about how the traditional percentage-based brokerages are really not as effective for experienced agents as, let's say, the flat rate models.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I feel that if you look at our real estate industry as a whole, I got into the business 20 years ago, and it was a 50-50 split with a brokerage model was extremely normal. And you look at that now and you think just what you said, oh my gosh, right? But you look at it, it was a very normal percentage split 20 years ago. And so as time has evolved, other companies have evolved with it, and they've come in with more lucrative commission splits, allowing the agent to keep more money in their pocket. And I think what's happened is over time, and I can only really speak from my own experience, but when you get to a point in your business where you feel you've learned a lot, you've run your business now year after year after year, you've grown your business, you've continued to improve it, and you know what you're doing, the brokerage becomes less important, in my opinion. Now, I know a lot of brokerage owners will disagree with me, but it does. It just does. And there's the old saying that in the absence of value, price is the issue. And that's where with my previous broker, we were paying a lot of money for what value we were not getting, or at least the perceived value wasn't there like it was, 8 years prior, 12 years prior when I joined there. And so I think that happens for a lot of agents now, that they get to a point where they're operating their business, they know how to grow their business, they know how to scale their business. Now it comes time to keep more money in their pocket. And so that's where a brokerage like ours that allows the agent to keep so much more of their commission is enticing. And it's something where people see that, and one, they don't believe it's true because they're used to paying 20, 30, 40%. And so when they see a low flat fee where they're going to keep the bulk of their commission, one, they're curious about it. Two, they don't think it's true until after they learn about it. But then they start to see that they're getting all of the same value, if not more, from a brokerage like ours while paying significantly less. They sell a house, they keep way more of their commission. That allows them to live a better life, fund their better life, invest more back into their business, and it's really a win for everybody.
Well, and it's so true. I think that I'm probably justified in saying that your number one question that people get, or that people give to you all the time, is how can you afford to operate like this?
Certainly.
And I think it's a numbers game. It's quantity of agents, and we're all supporting the company, but it's not to a deficit to us as agents. And I really love that it gives more of a team feel. Like, I know I'm playing a part in keeping this brokerage together, but I'm not feeling like I'm pulling the load either. And I think when you're giving away a quarter, now it's kind of more common to give away like a quarter of your commission if you're not on a team.
Mm-hmm.
And teams are a whole other thing. To each their own. I'm not a team player. Many people are happy like that. I'm not. It's fine. But I was even unhappy giving away 26% at my last brokerage, and I had a hard time believing that you guys were seriously only going to do that flat rate amount. And I loved it. It lit a fire in me when we moved, and it became a game of how fast can I pay off my cap.
Yeah.
I was curious, some things that you were looking for when there was the absence of value with your past brokerage before you started Nettwork Global. What were some of those things that you were looking for that you've brought into the company now that you have say in it?
Yeah, I don't ever want to speak negatively about, a former brokerage.
Sure.
I don't think there was really anything negative per se. I feel a lot of it was the cost. It really came down to the cost. We had, at that point, running our own team, a couple hundred transactions a year, had our own office space, did a lot of our own training. We weren't utilizing what the company had to offer any longer. Whereas years prior, when I was a little bit newer into the industry, I'd learned a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of a progression of an agent's career. And I think that's also why we tend to attract a lot of very seasoned agents that know what they're doing. They don't necessarily need to call and say, how do I write an offer?
Yeah.
They know how to write an offer. They know how to sell a home. They know how to get through inspections. But they love the fact that when they call, when they do need something, there's someone there to pick up and answer the phone.
Yeah, I've never had to wait more than a half hour.
Yeah, and that's something we take very serious. I think that is a challenge that a lot of brokerages have is as they scale and grow, they lose sight of the importance of picking up the phone and answering and getting back to the agents quickly. I see that as like one of our core values is urgency. It's having urgency and getting back. And I often say it's rare an agent calls me, except for you, to say hello. But it's rare that an agent will call just to say hello. If they call, it's obviously because they need something. Mm-hmm. And we know that, our staff knows that. It's very important that when an agent calls, we're either answering the phone or getting back to them very quickly because we're there to help them solve whatever that problem is. And I think that's something as we continue to scale that will always be at the forefront of my mind. Two things: one, being urgent and getting back to our agents and being responsive and answering the phone and helping them. And two, making sure they get paid quickly. Because that's another challenge I've seen with agents that have joined us. They're like, oh, it would take 4, 5, 6 days to get paid after a closing. I can speak from that from experience as well. Back in the day when I was younger, not anymore, but when I was a younger agent and had no money, I would close on a house and it might take a week or so to get paid. Meanwhile, my water was getting shut off and my heat was getting shut off, and I was falling behind on my student loans and all of that. And so paying the agent quickly is something that is extremely important to me as well. You've worked hard to earn that money, and now it's time to make sure you get it. We're not sitting on it.
Yeah, that's 30 days or more of work. Mm-hmm. Well, 30 days from likely when the contract was written. So it doesn't count all those times that you had showings before, the process of listing it and everything. So that's multiple months of work that you're finally getting rewarded for.
So Elysse, to answer your question on, how are we making money? Because that was a very common question, especially early on. When we first started this a few years ago in St. Louis, we only had 30 agents. Right now we're north of 300. But agents would say, how are you making money? And that was a valid question. Nobody wants to come join a company that's going to not be there in a year. Right. And so valid question, valid concern. And when we looked at this and we decided to move forward with the flat fee model, because as you know, we charge $485 a transaction. It's very cost effective. $485 a transaction, agent keeps the rest of their compensation. When we looked at that, we said in order to scale this and really make money at it, or in order to make money at it, we have to scale it. We knew that it doesn't work with 30 agents. It wouldn't work with 50 agents. So what I did was I set aside essentially 5 years of expenses, and I said, okay, I've got 5 years to grow this and make this work. And at the end of 5 years, if it's not working, well, shame on me. I don't deserve to have it anyway then, And so I looked at that and I knew that, okay, I've got a certain 60 months basically to make this grow. And so at about month 11, got really busy on recruiting, picking up the phone, calling, same way I built my real estate business back in the day. Picked up the phone, cold called, to call agents. And by month 11, we were break even. Shortly after that, we were profitable. And so we hit profitability really quick, just over a year essentially, and haven't looked back. Very profitable today, continuing to grow, expanded into a lot of different markets now, including Illinois, kind of all across Missouri at the moment, and continuing to attract a lot of really good agents. And so that was something, I think the key there though is one, having a vision for it, and knowing that it wouldn't work with a small amount of agents. Like in order to make this really grow, we have to expand, we have to grow, we have to attract more great agents that want to be a part of it. And then we have to retain, because that's just as important. There's no point in bringing 10 agents a month on if 10 are leaving. And so that's something I'm very aware of as well, is that we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to give the support and give the value to the agents so that they don't want to go anywhere else. And that's something we think about every day, from myself personally, from our staff perspective as well. We talk about often is how do we continue to add value to our agents so that way they never have to leave.
That's awesome. One of the things I remember from our initial interview, we were talking about the things that you've done to future-proof this business specifically. And I recall you already had the person in mind for stepping on as an additional compliance personnel.
Yeah, we just hired them. Yeah.
I see, and that was a year ago. So right on time. I think you knew about the time that you were planning to hit 300 agents, or at least the ballpark of what quarter of the year it would probably happen. And that just blew my mind. That was not a question that I was used to being answered so well in those interviews. And it just let me know that you were kind of the same frame of mind that I am with the future proofing your business. Definitely. Or at least having a plan in case, things went faster. This person already knows we want them. They have an idea of when we're going to need them. We've already kind of trained them on what they're going to need to do. Right. And we'll get them more versed as we progress with the timelines here, that kind of was like mind blowing to me because I thought I was the only person that preps like that in business.
No, it's important to have a plan. I think in business, so many people are reactive and they're just taking the day as it comes rather than establishing what are my goals? What does this business look like 10 years from now, even 20 years from now? Most people are thinking in the day, and most businesses, if you think about it, there's a statistic, and it's something that like 90% of small business basically breaks even or loses money. And so it's difficult in those positions to be thinking about the future when you're basically worried about how am I staying in business this week. Mm-hmm. And I've been there, like running my team, especially early on when I was building up my real estate team. It was very difficult. There were times where it was like Friday was coming and I didn't have enough money to cover payroll. And it's challenging to be thinking 5 years from that day or 10 years from that day when you're worried about how am I going to make it to Friday. And so I think a big part of it is one, goal setting, knowing what your goals are, knowing what your vision is, knowing your why and your reason for why you want to do this, and then executing on that plan every single day. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but if you have a plan in place and you're working your plan every single day, it will make it a little bit easier. It's not easy, but it will make it a little bit easier. And so I think that's the importance of, one, having a big vision, but two, putting a plan together, because it's easy to say, oh, I want to go do this, this, and this, and then not do anything to work toward that. And so when we have those goals in mind, and same thing from a staff perspective, we have our organizational model, then we know at certain benchmarks, when we get to X amount of agents, or more specifically, X amount of transactions, we need to hire another person. And so we're constantly looking for people that we can fill into this as we continue to grow, so that way we never fall behind, because that was a concern of mine. I don't want to grow too fast. And then I love growing fast, but I don't want to grow faster than we can support. So all of a sudden it's like these agents join and they're like, oh, this place is terrible. They don't have their stuff together. I want to continue to grow quickly, but also keep in mind that, okay, at this benchmark, we need to make another hire. At this benchmark, we need to make another hire while remaining profitable, because that's the important thing too. We don't want to just hire for the sake of hiring and then have profitability suffer.
To be completely transparent, I've never been with a company that has never told me no. Mm-hmm. Like if it was legal, you guys have been on board, and it's so freeing. It's just wonderful. I can run my business the way that I want to.
Absolutely.
And really, as long as we're not going to be involved in litigation, it's
right.
the green light.
That's the important thing. Yeah, and I'm a big believer in that. I feel as a real estate agent, we should have the ability to operate our businesses however we wish, provided it's legal, it's ethical, it's not going to hurt someone. But as long as it falls into those guidelines, you should have the ability, and everyone in our company should have the ability to operate your business however you see fit. It's your business. I'm a big believer in that it's not my business, it's your business. You're growing your business, your brand, and it's our responsibility to help and support you with that vision. And so who is it for us to say no to something if it's totally fine to do it and we just don't want you to for some reason? And so I agree with that. I feel that our brokerage is very much about not having control over things of that nature. Like, ask permission. If it's we get the green light, go for it. We're never going to say, no, I don't think you should do that, Elysse. You need to keep your business where it's at. Right? So I would rather you not grow your business, Elysse.
God.
So yeah, it's never going to be in a situation like that. And that's the beauty of this. And I firmly believe too, like our brand, Nettwork Global, but you're building your brand. And I think that's very important that you're building your brand, because at the end of the day, the clients that choose to work with you are the ones that know you, like you, and trust you. They're not working with you because you're an agent with Nettwork Global. And I think that's something that people lose sight of as well. They think the brand is what's driving their business, when it couldn't be further from the truth. And I couldn't tell you, I've been on so many listing appointments in the past when the client was signing the documents, the listing agreement, and they would, as they're signing, they would say, what company are you with again? It was irrelevant to them. They were hiring me as the person because they saw me as the professional that would help them accomplish their goal of getting their home sold. And so I find that for people that are still kind of wrapped around this, the brand is what's helping me. It couldn't be further from the truth.
I think there was a time where that was happening.
25 years ago.
I was going to say, I think it was 20 years ago.
20 it was. When I got into business, back when we were still using fax machines.
Yeah,
I used fax machines my first
time. I think COVID changed a lot of that. There's no denying it changed almost every industry in the world, especially sales industries.
Yeah.
There was a time where you needed to meet clients in your office and go through things before you went out to go showing. My clients don't want to meet in an office anymore.
Right.
I was really hesitant to give my office in town up. It was rather convenient to have a place in town, It's been super nice that Jordan Salisbury is letting us have like a hub
Yeah, she's
in
great.
her office.
Yeah.
I thought that was just the coolest thing. She certainly did not have to offer to do that.
Sure.
I'm not a member of her team,
Right.
but she has never, another person that's never told me no.
Yeah, well, I think that speaks to the culture too, Elysse, of the agents within our company that are so willing to share. You know, I've been at a company in the past where many years ago when I started my career, where it was very, if you had something working, it was very hush hush. And I actually talked to an agent the other day that's at a company where she said it's like that, where it's like if something's working, they're not saying anything. They're not telling you how they're doing it. Where with our country, we really come from that culture of abundance where there's so much opportunity out there. There are so many transactions taking place. There's enough for all of us. And so if an agent has something working, they're willing to share. And the same thing with Jordan. She's willing to have agents come into her office space and work out of there. And she offers that because it's really that culture. And I feel that's what we're really trying to continue to build as well, is a culture of belonging, support, where everyone feels a part. And they're here learning from agents, like top agents are giving advice to new agents. They're helping them build. And it's really neat to see. And I find it interesting in our internal Facebook group how much interaction we get with agents wanting to help, even with like agents needing help with showings. Mm-hmm. People are always jumping in and willing to help. And I think that's really neat to see as that continues to grow, how that culture is continuing to strengthen.
Before we go, I want to give a special thanks to the team that actually gets these deals across the finish line. Real estate strategy is great, but execution is everything. That is why I trust Great American Title Company right here in Osage Beach. Whether it's a complex lakefront closing or a simple land deal, their attention to detail protects my clients and ensures that we close on time every time. A huge thank you to them for being a pillar of our local real estate community, and I'll see you on the next one.